Hold on.
Okay, take two.
That is incredibly awesome. Let's shut the hangout down as soon as it starts. Awesome.
I feel so much. I really appreciate this because it makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, we had a few technical snafus at the beginning and with audio, and now we're just going to shut the whole thing down. All right. Very cool. All right, well, let's start all over again then. All right, well, thanks to everybody for joining us here on Corona Geek Live, the weekly hangout devoted to mobile game development using our mobile app development using Corona SDK. In the studio here, we've got Brian Burton. Say hello, Brian.
Hello.
Hey, we got a little bit of delay again, just like last week. And Brian is author of several Corona SDK books, also a professor, teaches this stuff on a regular basis, so we're always happy to have him on the show with us. He's a regular, and hey, Brian, I'm glad you're here. Also with us is, to my right, I guess, is Ed Marina. Is it Marina?
Marina. Think like the place you park your boat.
All right. Okay. Ed Marina, developer of SSKCorona, a third-party library for helping developers have fun developing with Corona. So thanks for being with us, Ed. And we've also got the Hiptic game guys. So we've got George. Say hello, George.
Hi.
And Long. Is that Long?
Yeah, it's Long. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought that was your last name for a while there. Yeah. Okay. So George and Long are the developers of Shackdown. These guys have really knocked it out of the park in terms of games, and we're going to talk with them and find out all their behind-the-scenes secrets, and they're going to share those with us, especially on the marketing side of things, and even get into some development talk. So that's going to be great. So, what do we have to talk about this week, Brian? What do you want to start? You want to start with announcements, you think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started with our announcements.
Okay, so the first thing that we need to cover is that there are a lot of events coming up this week that you can attend. If you're in Italy, which I would love to be in Italy at this point, in Torino, they're going to have a set of courses that are going to be available. They're actually happening in 3 cities in Italy, but if you're interested in that, we'll put a link to the show notes, and you can go check that out and join the action that's happening there. On Wednesday, there is another QuickSure webinar that's going to be taking place. If you're interested in learning how to create mobile apps without writing code, just using Photoshop, and of course Corona, you can sign up to attend the webinar starting at 2 p.m. Pacific time on January 23rd. So Alex will be giving that out over there at QuickSure, and we'll put a link to the show notes for that as well. Coming up on, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is a 48-hour global game jam. And if for anybody who's not familiar with that, you can find more information at globalgamejam.org. And Brian, you're a organizer, right?
I'm a site sponsor. Well, site organizer, yes.
And you guys are going to have one down in Abilene. Is that correct?
Yes.
How many people are signed up for that?
Yes, we're having one in Abilene. I'm not sure yet. I think we're going to end up with 20, 25 here.
Okay.
And then there's also one happening in Austin for the state of Texas. And I think there's one in Dallas and Houston as well.
Yeah, if you go to their website, globalgamejam.org, and look at the locations, you can pretty much find an event in your area. And if there's not one, then you can organize an event and be a part of it. But it's basically a 48-hour game development jam fest where you just come in, and develop a game. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a video game. It can be a board game. It can be whatever you want to. It's just a game. So that's going to be great. I'm actually flying out to San Francisco. I'm going to be there with the Corona Labs crew in San Francisco, and we're going to video the whole thing. So I'm going to live blog from that event. So it's going to be cool. So look for some updates on that coming pretty soon. And I think they said they're hoping to have like 14,000 people participate globally in this event. That's what they're shooting for. So that's great.
Yeah, over 300 sites, over 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an exciting opportunity. There's a lot of people participating, and should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. In January 31st in Boston, there's going to be a Corona SDK developers meetup, and Brian, I think you're going to be speaking at that.
Yes, I'm the guest speaker. Yes, I'm the guest speaker at the Corona meetup. I think the plan is at the Cambridge Innovation Center is where they're going to meet, but there'll be a meetup announcement probably later today or early tomorrow on that.
Okay, yeah. And Jen Looper, of course, who introed us on
She's coordinating.
Big Corona meetup, she's coordinating all of that, so she'll have all the details, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. And then, of course, the ongoing book promotion to help you with your New Year's resolution, make sure that you get those apps developed, is still going on. So, what's the details with that, Brian?
Yeah, we've seen on that. For if you use the coupon code on my website, Corona Geek, that'll give you a $5 discount on any of the books I've written on Corona, and so it'll just help you meet and keep your New Year's resolution. It's been going very well. I'm excited to see how many people are taking advantage of this offer, and I also discounted on the Amazon version of the book, and that's selling very well as well. We've hit over it. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of feedback, so that's messing up my speech a little bit here. We've hit the top 100, so that in our category for game programming. So that's been very exciting on the Amazon side.
Okay, excellent. All right, so Brian, you say you're getting a little bit of feedback?
Yeah, just a little bit, but go ahead.
Okay. So definitely use Corona Geek when you visit Brian's website, and we'll put a link to the show notes in that as well. But you can go to briansmediagroup.com/books. You should go register.org now, and visit,
I should.
use the coupon code Corona Geek when you check out. All right, so let's talk about latest builds and there's a lot of bug fixes going on the latest builds, but one of the things I think is most interesting to note is that in build 1008, on the Android side, they said they completely removed OpenFaint and all of its resources, which should result in reducing the APK file size. As we all know, OpenFaint is no longer OpenFaint, and basically those servers have been shut down. So you should have removed that from your app by now. So there's really no reason to keep it around. So they've just completely removed it, which is a good thing. As far as blog highlights are concerned, I don't know if you got a chance to see, but Rob Miracle published a tutorial out there. It's called Working with Time and Dates in Corona. I've been reading through it, and it's a very good read. If nothing else, I mean, it's put together well, it's organized real well, but it talks about all the different functions, how things work in Corona, and it also just kind of talks about some more general concepts too about working with time and dates, things like that. So if you're into that sort of thing, check it out. Sometimes working with time and dates in programming languages can be tricky. So that's a really good tutorial to go through. It'll probably take you 5-10 minutes to go through the whole thing. All right, so let's start by talking. Let's do some geek talk here. Let's start talking about Shackdown. So George, tell us about Shackdown, man. Actually, let's back up just a little bit before we get to Shackdown. Tell us about Hiptic Games. How long has Hiptic Games been around?
Let's see. I think we've been around for maybe 6 months now or so.
I'm sorry. That's laugh out loud. You guys are doing such a great job. You've been around for 6 months. I mean, it's incredible.
Initially, we weren't actually a game studio before. Hiptic was actually sort of like a social media site.
Yeah.
And then
so we've been a startup for a while now. Long and I've been working together for over a year, and we had a couple other ideas in mind when we formed this company. But ultimately, we found that building games was really what we were passionate about, and we really had the right talent for. we were nervous about it because the game space is a very competitive one. There's a lot of companies with spending huge amounts of resources to try to get good placement on the charts. But as we've found that we can actually do pretty well with a small team. Obviously, Long is an incredible artist, and I find that with Corona, I can build the games pretty quickly, and that's really enabled us to compete quite effectively against even larger companies.
Okay, yeah. That's amazing because when I first saw Go Ninja, I thought there must be at least 20 guys working on this. It's polished, I know it's fun. There's the timing and the flow of things work. I mean, it's a great game. So the fact that you guys, there's two of you, is I don't know, a credit to you guys, and also just a credit to the fact that what you can accomplish with Corona. I really like that.
It's actually three. It's three, but we have a junior developer as well. But he couldn't make it today.
Oh, okay. Is that like is that okay? I don't know. Watch any YouTube. Is there that's like an intern? What's that show where the guy intern too?
Yeah, something like
well,
that.
he did start as an intern, but he's now an employee.
Okay, you let him sit up front with you guys now.
He's on
Cool, awesome.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully next time we can get him on the show with us. Okay, so the studio's been around. Studio officially then has been around for 6 months. And you came out with Go Ninjas. Go Ninjas was your first title, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And so before I want to go back to kind of where we were talking about before we started the broadcast. George, you were saying that that you wrote the code for Go Ninja, and Long you did graphics. So
basically creative and technical. So I did the game design. I also did like all animations, UI, all that kind of stuff. Anything visual, and then George and I collaborate on the design of how everything works physics-wise and stuff like that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't do any programming, so.
You don't do any programming, but you still have to kind of come up with. I mean, especially with Shaq. I mean, how do you come up with the concept? How do you put all of that together? I mean, is that something that you just have to storyboard it all and then you pass it over to George? I mean.
Oh, so which aspects of Shackdown? You mean like the story or like the concept?
Yeah. So let's say let's talk about Shackdown. So where did the storyline come from?
The storyline, okay. The storyline is basically it's an amalgam of like every single post-apocalyptic cliche you can ever think of. Just kind of just merged into one idea. And the reason that it's like that is because we all know Shaq Fu's history, right? And Shaq Fu is like the most insanely weird and hated game of all time. So with Shackdown, we knew going into it that we couldn't just do something serious. So we decided to, play it up like it's a bad movie, a bad B movie that, at some point it's so bad it becomes good again.
We should say that Shaq Fu was the original Shaq game back for the Sega Genesis.
Right.
And it was considered one of the worst games ever made, basically.
Right. Yeah, so that kind of influenced how we took the approach to Shackdown. So we just didn't take it seriously. We were like, okay, let's just grab every single cliche we can, shove into it, wrap it in a pretty package, and see how it flies.
Gotcha. Yeah, I liked the fact that it has this classic comic book kind of thing to it. It's almost got an anime feel to it. It has the B movie zombie thing to it. There seems like there's all these things are all smashed together. So
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's actually quite different from Go Ninja. We actually wanted to feel a lot different than Go Ninja because Go Ninja was more like it felt a little bit like there was a nice rhythm you could get to it, but we wanted to feel more like a fighting game. So we wanted to be like like hit, and basically just like kind of like space out to like really play up the rhythm of like a fighting game, like a combo system. So we ended up actually rewriting the whole engine to suit that. Yeah, it was interesting.
Oh wow! So you had to rewrite the whole engine to get the result that you wanted.
Mhm.
So, so whose idea was it to make Shaq the justice bringer?
Well, if you actually look at the cover for Shaq Fu, how it was
Yeah.
advertised back in the day, it said "Enforcer of Justice," and and so we were like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. Let's just play with that. So, justice like is a very, I guess, heroic thing. So, and we decided to modernize it. So, it's, he's bringing it. So let's make him the Justice Bringer. Um, yeah, it sounds a little more ominous, I suppose.
Yeah, I was watching the video trailer for that, and of course, I'm watching all the animation stuff and all this, and they started that, they called they called Shaq the Justice Bringer, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I was like, that just seems like it's an odd term, Justice Bringer.
Right, and Shaq himself, he's such a nice guy. I
Yeah.
don't. When you see him, you don't think he would hurt a fly, but so it's just kind of the juxtaposition of like him, his actual personality, as opposed to how he's portrayed in the game, which is really fun.
Okay, so this is kind of an off the cuff question. So, did you guys get to meet Shaq? Do you get to like hang with him or anything? Is it like Walt
Uh,
Disney where you had to bring him in and like study his motions?
so we actually did a lot of Google searches for his pictures. But the thing is, he's a really busy guy. So we were only able to get a recording session from him for the audio.
Okay.
But outside of that, we didn't really get to hang with him, which is quite unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I figured, it's just like I said, the Walt Disney always brings in, they always bring in whoever, and then they study their all their motions, and then put it all together. I thought maybe that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine he is a pretty busy guy though. Uh, so so how hard was it then to go from Go Ninja then to Shackdown? I mean, what if you had to rewrite and a whole different storyline. You were trying to hit a whole different feel. I mean, how long did it take? How long did let's say it this way? How long did it take you guys to develop the game?
So to do everything for the game, it took about 11 weeks.
Okay.
Um, so on my end of things, that was mostly just coding the game, recoding parts that didn't work super well, um, and testing it on devices to make sure it ran smoothly, all that. On Long's side, I think it was a much more complicated process because he did the art, but then as most of the art got wrapped up, he also did the marketing, the trailer, uh, help with localization, so on and so forth.
Yeah, there's yeah, we all it's a startup, so we all wear many different hats, and so it's just whatever you can do. You do. But yeah, question.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, 11 weeks.
Yeah.
11 weeks. Okay. Um, so the anime, I mentioned the anime piece there. Was that on purpose, or was that just sort of
Well, actually, I mean, I'm a big fan of anime. If you notice, the intro to Shackdown is very reminiscent of Fist of the
Yeah.
North Star, um, which is like one of my like favorite animes. It's basically because it's like this huge ripoff of Mad Max, and Mad Max is such an awesome movie. It just made sense. In terms of the anime style, I do a lot of anime related work. I mean, I worked on Street Fighter. I worked on the X-Men Evolution cartoon comic version. Worked on Robotech and things like that. So I have a lot of that ingrained in me. And to make Shaq's animations and stuff, it lends very well to an animation style. So it's easier to produce as well in the time window. So.
didn't you say? I thought you said before. Did you say you worked on Thundercats?
I did, yeah. The comic book. So I did a lot of like those retro '80s comic books. So I did a big run on the Robotech comic book series, and then I pitched in for some other stuff too, like big Street Fighter comics, Thundercats, X-Men. I said, and stuff like that. Yeah.
So bringing in a comic book type feel to the app then was sort of natural for you then. I mean,
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm very comfortable with that style for sure. Yeah.
so George, you mentioned marketing Shackdown. So what have you guys done, and what kind of I don't know what kind of hints or tips or suggestions can you give to developers who are trying to market their apps?
Basically, it's a lot of outreach. You know, if you can find a couple of the bigger outlets, like say IGN or Destructoid or Kotaku, those types of places. If you can reach out and form a good bond with one of the editors, you know, then you just feed them your press releases. Actually, press releases is a big thing too. A lot of people don't do press releases, especially smaller indie companies like us. But it actually makes a lot of sense because you send them out to, you can actually just carpet bomb a bunch of different outlets, and you know, if they're interested, they'll talk about it. So it is just a lot of outreach.
Now, one of the things about press releases, right, is that they get picked up by, don't they get picked up by news organizations and things like that?
You can, so you can actually, you can send it to say CBS or, you know, Channel Five
Okay.
News or whatever. And there is a chance.
You,
The luxury that we had with Shackdown was that Shaquille himself is such a big name celebrity that, you know, when you send out a press release that says, you know, Shaq's return to gaming, like everyone just jumps on it. So we were very fortunate to have that going for us.
and did you saw that then? You saw people picking that up?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about Shaq, well, you know, because of Shaq Fu, you know, most people they have a very it's a very polarizing reaction. It's like either like, oh yeah, I love this, or oh my god, I hate this. You know. So,
Right.
but the thing is, negative press is also good press. If it's circulating, then you know people are going to notice it and they'll be like, is it really that bad? And then maybe I'll try it out. You know. So, you know, it does help.
Gotcha. Okay. Uh, I saw that when I first started up Go Ninja after you guys had released Shackdown, that it promoted the app inside of Go Ninja. So talk about that. How did, whose idea was that? How did you leverage that existing install base?
Uh-huh. I mean, push notifications are sort of a must-have in apps, in our opinion. It's really easy to put them. Well, it's relatively easy to put them in. A lot of users will accept them, and then of course you can leverage all your previous users to come return to your game or come play your new games, and so on. Um, Implementation-wise, we used a third-party service called Pushwoosh. Basically, normally when you implement push notifications, you have to have a server sitting somewhere that talks to Apple servers to do the push notification side of things. But with this third-party service, you just pay them a relatively small monthly fee. They also have a free plan, which is pretty good, and they just manage it all for you. So we signed up with them, and then they already had some example Corona code, and we had to change it a little bit because it was pretty out of date. But we came together, after a few hours, and we put that in there, and I mean, it was good. It's worked out really well. I mean, we have, I think our install base for Go Ninja is over 2 million now, so it was a great way to give a big boost to Shackdown.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought that was genius. When I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's right. I mean, why not leverage something you've already got, right? Now, did
Yeah.
that push notification? I can't remember. Was that in? You had to open the app, or was that? Could you push it if they didn't? They
Oh,
hadn't
even if the
opened
app
the
is
app.
closed. Yeah,
Even if the
I
app is
think if the
closed.
app is closed, you get a little pop-up, and then when you click on that, the app opens up and it shows an alert with the message. Um, some of that is stuff that the notification appearing while the app is closed is kind of handled in Apple's UI, and then that causes the app to get launched with information about the contents of the push notification, and then the app does whatever behavior you want it to do. In our case, we have it pop up a native dialog, and when you click OK, it goes to whatever URL we put in the push notification. But other developers could have it do something different. I mean, you could use it also for things like getting users to re-engage, or telling a user that that a friend wants them to try to beat their score. Push notifications can be used in a lot of pretty interesting ways.
Okay. And I noticed you guys, when you go to Hiptic, you really just have it split into the two properties, right? One goes to Go Ninja and one goes to Shackdown, and then those are both campaign sites. So
Mhm.
how has that worked out for you? I mean, just have you seen any drawbacks to not having like a full on site for Hiptic, or has it just not been an issue?
I mean, it hasn't really been a priority. At this point, we don't really want to convey any messages to the world beyond come download our games.
Yeah.
I'm sure as we expand as a company, we may want to convey other messages like come work for us or things like that. But at least for now, it's just like download our games, and at the bottom we put like a little link to a form if people want to contact us for press or interviews, things like that. And that's really all we need.
And you guys are also on Facebook, though, right? Yeah, I saw you have Facebook right there on the page, so you can have an
Oh yeah,
interaction discussion through Facebook.
yeah. Well, we have a like button. That's a very easy way to get a little more distribution. Just one line of code, pretty much. We also put a tweet button on Shackdown.com.
Okay.
Yeah, both really easy ways to get people to share the page.
Yeah, that seems like a fair thing to do. I mean, you guys are busy creating the apps and staying focused, so why
Mhm.
spend extra energy on something else, right? And especially when you can leverage social media like Facebook and things like that, where an active conversation can come. So
Yeah, actually, one of the great things about Facebook and Twitter are that, in a way, it's kind of like a way you can get users to very quickly sign up for a newsletter. Because on Go Ninja, we put in a form to type in your email to get updates from us, and of course, the conversion rate on that is terrible. We only have like a few people's emails. So, um, if not for like the like button, um, then most people that come to the website, we would never have any way of reaching them, even if they cared about hearing from us again. But now people click the like button, and then we can, or people actually, when people click the tweet button, that spreads our Twitter page. People click the like button, and then people like us on Facebook. Creates a really good way to sort of engage with our users.
I saw that your trailer was on IGN Entertainment's channel on YouTube, and it seemed like it had like 137,000 views.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. And
That's another. Yeah, there's
what's
another
that?
60,000 on, or is it 50 or 60,000?
Probably 60 by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have there's IGN's trailer, which has IGN's watermark on it, and then we also put our own original trailer on YouTube, and that has another 60,000 or so.
Sweet. So tell me, are you guys partnered through IGN, or what's? I mean, how does that work that they're pulling your stuff through?
No, we actually sent them a press kit, and we also said if you want, we can exclusively launch the trailer on your site. And they were like, okay. So we just sent them the 1080p source file for the trailer, and they put it up. An interesting thing to note about the trailer as well is it recently aired during the basketball game a few days ago.
Mhm.
Um,
Actually, just before the basketball game.
Right.
Yeah, before the basketball game
the Lakers
on
versus Heat game. It was right
on
before that.
Saturday, was it?
It was Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went on TV, and it was really cool because you could see like,
Oh no, it was Friday.
was it Friday?
Yeah.
You see our ranks like just kind of like climbing really quickly once it aired, so it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. So that's definitely something that other developers should try to do. I mean, send out a press kit to these guys.
Well, I think maybe one strategy is that news outlets like to have the exclusive story
Right.
because it brings them most of the traffic and they make the most money that way.
Uh-huh.
So, depending on how likely you think people are to want to talk about whatever game you're releasing, it's good to try to pick a news outlet that you really want to talk about your game, and then form a relationship with them. Tell them, we'll let you be the first people to publish something about this, and that'll get them much more excited about publishing anything at all.
Right. And also, it's good to reach out to early reviewers as well, because a lot of times, and the thing is, you shouldn't spam people with your press kit. You should actually try and mention them by name if you're going to write to them. It's good because then they feel like you're actually reaching out to them and not just spamming them. And that way, it's better. It's a better relationship that way. They feel like, oh, I feel special that I want to like talk about your game. I wouldn't say that it always has a. I mean, it's also a double-edged sword in the sense that if they don't like your games, then they might say bad stuff about it. But But I guess if you're confident about what you built, then you should be okay with that, regardless.
Did you guys go after like big review sites, or did you just? I mean, did you have a list that you went down, or how did you pick who to
Yeah,
talk to?
we did target the bigger sites at first, but we also found that it's helpful to reach out to smaller sites as well, just to get a review out there, or just to get like people talking about it. Many times the smaller reviews get put on someone's blog, which goes through Twitter and all this kind of stuff. So just you just want to improve the SEO when you search for the game on Google.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. So, do you guys have any plans for the next app?
Yeah, a few actually. Actually, our 2013 is looking. It's pretty much booked up already. We can't really talk about two of the potential things that we might be working on, but we are building our own apps internally as well. As George mentioned before, we're actually about 35% of the way through our. It was our second game, but we put it on pause to work on Shackdown, and we came up with this other really wacky idea like a few weeks ago, and we want to work on that as well. So, yeah, it looks to be about perhaps 3 to 4 games easily this year.
Okay. So a mix of in-house stuff and a mix of like maybe what client stuff.
Yeah, work for hire. Yeah.
Work for hire. Okay. All right. So, which of you is the zombie movie fan? Both of you, or are you the?
I'm actually more of the old classic George Romero zombie stuff, but I'm also a huge Resident Evil fan too. So if you look at Shackdown, it's a little bit of both there, because Resident Evil has more of the mutants and stuff like that, and then I'm a huge Romero fan. I love all like 80s stuff, like cheesy like 80s movies and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really introduced. I mean, my kids do zombie. You can't avoid the zombie genre. On games and all this other stuff, but they really haven't seen the '80s stuff. And at some point, I'm hoping that they'll get to the age where we'll do the '80s stuff, because those were big for me. It's like iconic stuff that I shouldn't have been watching at the time, but yeah, classic stuff, man. Just it's fun stuff. Well, that's awesome. So let's talk a moment. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the SSKCorona. So Ed, I'm glad we got your audio stuff worked out, man, because I want to talk to you about this third-party library that you've developed. So tell us where it came from, how it started, and what it is. Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Oh no.
I can't hear you, Ed. No. Nope. Nope, can't hear you. We're going to have to break out the puppets. All right. Well, I'll give him a chance to work that out. Let me flip over here. We'll talk a little bit about some community stuff. So if you haven't already, you need to go over to the Corona Labs forum. There's a Corona Geek thread over there, or forum, over there, that you can post your suggestions for the show. If you want to hear from particular developers, if you'd like us to interview somebody about a particular tool, if you want to hear about some sort of marketing. What's up, Brian? I see you're shaking your head.
It was a reply to Ed. He was still trying to snapping his fingers, still nothing. So nope.
So go over to the Corona Labs forum and leave some suggestions there in the Corona Geek forum, because that's one of the things that we need from you guys. We want to know what it is that you want to talk about. So we've got the Hiptic game guys here when we're talking about how to market apps. We're talking about the background, the development experience that they had with that using Corona. These types of conversations are important to you as a developer, and so those are the types of things that we want to talk about. But we want to know that from you. We want to know exactly who you want to talk about, what you want to talk about. If you want to talk about some sort of something specific about the API in the Corona SDK, let us know that as well. we can work that out.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
All right, good. I'm not going to
Oh,
touch my
awesome.
computer.
you.
Don't
Nobody
drop
breathe.
again.
Nobody breathe. Yeah, I guess that's what it was, right? The
I don't
Google
know.
dropped and
It's
came out.
could be anything.
All
So
right.
it's been a tumultuous connection so far.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing about free service that that connects people around the world. You just never know what's going to happen with it.
That's all right.
All right. So let's talk about
So I think you
SSK
asked me.
Corona.
Okay.
Tell me what
You
what
asked
is
me
it?
where it came from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, what it is a toolkit. I've been developing apps with other engines, and I came over to Corona back in 2011. And one of the first things I did was, besides familiarize myself with the engine or the SDK, was I started to build a library of ready-made solutions for myself. And there came a point where I decided that it would be okay to share that with other folks, so I put it out on a GitHub, and I've just been maintaining it ever since. Basically, it's a toolkit to do pretty much most of the little things that you would need to do, and some bigger things like creating buttons or joysticks, adding backgrounds, and it even comes with an entire game framework for both a single player and a multiplayer style game. That is multiplayer Wi-Fi.
Okay. And so you started this out as just your own personal library to make things easier for you.
Yeah, I did. I joined the Corona community with the intention of making games, but another thing that I wanted to do was work on templates and tutorials, and excuse me, Tim, I also wanted to do some writing too. I did some writing for some previous engines, and I knew that it would be useful to have a common code base that I could refer to and get people to look at. So I decided to go ahead and release what I had, knowing that that would get people interested, and I wanted to share basically what I had so far with folks.
Okay. So at this point, is it kind of would you consider it an open source project? I mean, can anybody work on it, or what's the?
I would consider it open in the sense that folks can download it and modify it to their heart's content, but currently it's closed because I'm controlling what goes into it. I'm doing that mostly for consistency. I've done this before, and I tried to open up another project once, and it just didn't work out because everybody has their own idea on what direction things should go in. So I'm keeping this one closed, but if people want something, they should email me and ask for it. I will take emails filled with code and do what I can with them. It's all open in that sense.
Okay. So you said you started out because you wanted to develop games. So is this just for games?
It's not just for games. I think many of the listeners would probably agree that games and applications have a lot of common features, interfaces, sounds, things like that. So it covers all the common features, but I would say that it leans in the direction of making games. I mean, it covers things like I have a game piece library, which is sort of a pseudo button library for creating widgets for your board pieces, or like tic-tac-toe or Risk or something like that. And then I have a joystick library, so that's definitely not for applications.
So I think I saw on your website it said it was Android, Fire, and Nook Color. So is it for iOS as well, or?
Absolutely. It's actually agnostic isn't the right word, but I try not to implement anything that's device specific.
Okay.
So you can't always avoid that, but so far I've been fortunate in that respect.
Okay. Okay. And what is it developed in? Is it
Pure Lua code. Just
pure
like
Lua?
any other development you would do with Corona, it's all Lua.
Okay.
So makes it easy for people to integrate. The idea is, I mean, clearly that's the best language to work with Corona in because it's the primary scripting language. But I wanted people to be able to use either the entire kit or to reach in and say, I just like this one part, and be able to pull it out. So writing it in Lua lets me do that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if you wanted to just use a piece of it, you could then.
Absolutely. You can. Most of the pieces are not codependent or interdependent. So if people like one piece, they can take it out and use just that.
Okay. Now you're migrating it. You originally had it, I guess, on a lot of the documentation and stuff on your site, but aren't you migrating it? Migrating it
Yeah,
to?
I'm currently migrating it to the GitHub. I had it on my own private wiki, but I'm a one-guy studio, so maintaining everything myself, the web server, everything else is too much work. So
Right.
I rely on GitHub to keep that stuff available and uploaded it all to there.
Okay, yeah, that's. I mean, that seems reasonable. So, what are the plans for SSKCorona moving forward?
I'm going to keep using it for making games, and I do a little side contracting work, and I use it for that.
Okay.
But the long-term goal is to use it for game templates and another item that I have coming out soon, which is a recipe kit, which is a set of small solutions to common problems. And so what I'll do there is I'll be implementing them both in pure Lua and then with SSK to give people both options.
Okay.
So, but to answer your question is I'll continue to maintain it and add new features to it.
Okay.
And it'll continue to be free.
Okay. So this is kind of a question out to everybody that's here. I think we were talking before the show, and basically what's happening is that the development team is working on Widgets 2.0. That will be released, and then when that's released, they're going to start working on Storyboard 2.0. So, what features would you guys want to see in like a Storyboard 2.0? George, I think you had some thoughts on that before we started out.
Yeah,
Share
well,
those with us.
I already mentioned the suggestion actually to the Corona team, and I think they were pretty receptive of it. But the main thing I would like to see in Storyboard is sort of an ability to use less of it by default. Right now, Storyboard is almost kind of an all or nothing kind of thing. And at least documentation-wise, it doesn't tell you how to just use a subset of it. And when you sort of approach it that way, it's actually really complicated. And even though it's kind of an all or nothing thing, not all the parts are as well documented as they should be, especially in what use cases you'd want to use each part. So my suggestion to them was let us build storyboards where a scene has just a single method, purges by default, and the only thing people need to write is the contents of enter scene. And then if they want to use things like exit scene, create scene, make those more advanced features and document them and make sure they work, but don't make them required if you want to just start using storyboard in your app.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it probably is a little more complicated than what it needs to be. Ed, as a third-party tool developer, what do you think?
Actually, I was ready for another question. I'm sorry. Originally, I think the question was, what new features would you ask for? That's the one that I got. So I wasn't ready for a storyboard question. Can I answer
I'm sorry.
something else?
Yeah, no,
And
I actually
I
threw
think I
that
need
in.
to roll back. I think I called Brian Tim. I must be watching too many of those animated shows lately or something. Sorry about
I
that,
call him
Brian.
all kind of things all
No
the time.
problem.
I call him David sometimes. I call him, whatever.
So as far as the storyboard library goes, I'm pretty happy with it. I could agree with the simplification and the reduction in the requirement of the number of callbacks that you need to implement. But as far as other things that I might request not storyboard, I would request integrated 2D math library.
Okay.
So SSKCorona has one, but 2D math gets pretty expensive after a while. So if we can get it closer to the metal, that would be nice.
So Brian, what do you seem to have thoughts
Oh
on
yeah,
that?
I completely agree with simplified 2D math would make life so much easier. 2.5D, of course, is something that a lot of us are really looking forward to.
Is that something that you would be teaching to your students if it was available, or what's the?
Oh yes, definitely. They're begging for it.
Actually, I said 2D, but because it's difficult to provide the interface that splits both nicely. But if you had a 3D library, that would be the best, because then it would give you easy access to a pseudo 2.5D implementation. You could use the Z as your depth.
Yes.
George,
And you can simulate parts of that already with the Lime library, but it's just a simulation. It's not a true built-in core processing.
Yeah, we've been
Like
using
I said, though, that's sorry, I talked over you guys. Go ahead.
we've been using a library called MathLib to do our 2D map, and it's worked pretty well. But perhaps we haven't run into any of the more expensive use cases that you guys have for it. Um, but you also mentioned 2.5D, and that's definitely something that's pretty important to us. We want to start building games where we can sort of start faking or doing something with the z-axis, and that's just not really possible right now.
Okay. No, excellent. Well, okay. Well, here's a opportunity for everybody. If you have suggestions, things that features you'd like to see in Corona, you can go to feedback.coronalabs.com, and there is a user voice section there where you can submit those. Like I said before, they're going to be working on Storyboard 2.0 as soon as they finish up Widgets 2.0, and so this would be the time that you would want to go and leave that feedback. And basically, the idea is that whatever it is that you think Storyboard should be, that's what we want to hear, because it's really not. The developers have expressed that it's not about creating something and having people use whatever it is that we say that they need to use. It's about you telling us what you want, and then we create that and make it available to the community. That's really what it's about. So the feedback is hugely important. So definitely go and leave that if you have thoughts that you want to share on that.
Well, and I'll open that up even a little bit further. That
Yeah.
I'm constantly revising these books that are the resources for using Corona. And if there's a specific feature that you would like to see a tutorial or a chapter written on, let us know. And you can leave it in the Corona Geek forums. I'm following in there as well. So if you've got an idea or something that you would like to see, please leave it, and I'll try and integrate that either into the next book or the current book.
Yeah, definitely. If it's something related to the book, definitely do it. Leave it in the forum, in the Corona Geek forum. If it's more core features geared, then go leave that at feedback.coronalabs.com, because
Yes.
they're actively monitoring that and going through and trying to make sure that we're keeping an eye on what it is that people are asking for. I don't know about you, but this is one of the most interesting things I think about a company like Corona, and it's kind of a shameless plug for Corona, but they're very responsive.
Yes.
Because of the size of the organization, because of the communication channels that are there, they're very responsive. You can't please everybody 100% of the time, so there are some people who have what they want and some people who don't. But it doesn't mean that there's not an internal conversation going on. That doesn't mean that that everyday choices are being made, and priorities are being set and things like that. So, I can tell you that I sit in on the engineering meetings and I listen to these guys talk about things that they're very passionate about. It's very important to them. And at the end of the day, we all have 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and they're just trying to make sure that they prioritize and focus on the right things. So that's why it's extremely important for you to give your feedback, so that they know what it is that they should be looking at. It's communication outside and inside communication is an extremely odd thing for any company, because you've always got people who want something but necessarily aren't vocal about it, and then you have people on the inside who think that they have an idea of how it should work. Ultimately they want to produce whatever it is that somebody wants, but both groups have to communicate with each other, and that's what the Corona Labs development team is trying to do. They want to make sure that they get the right feedback so they can implement the right things. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We're kind of coming up on the 3 o'clock hour here. I want to kind of move on a little bit and kind of wrap things up. So let's talk real briefly about app reviews. I talked last week about doing a finger hula app review. So I don't know if you've had a chance to see that, but I did. I did a trailer, a little teaser, and then I did a full app review, and those are all out on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Corona Geek, where you can subscribe, by the way, to the show and watch all the episodes that come out every week. And then of course last week was the app of the week was VidBurn. Have you guys seen this app? It's kind of like Facebook's Poke app. Is the best way to characterize it, I guess. You do you take a video. It's probably what I think 8 seconds long, and then after you've watched it, it self-destructs. It disappears. It deletes itself. So it's kind of a fun little app. I think it's an interesting use of the Corona development platform. Definitely, I would be interested to know how much Facebook spent developing Poke versus how much it took to build it using Corona. Maybe we can find that information out at some point. And then, of course, I'll be reviewing Brad Marcus's app, Easy Poker Timer, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But I promised him an app review last week, and I fell short on that, so I'll try to get that out to you this week, Brian, or Brad. See, whoever's name, just pick one out of the hat. And then that's it. So let's talk about the winner this week of the T-shirt for the Corona Labs T-shirt, the weekly Corona Labs T-shirt winner, and that's Andrew Kinnaman. Now I think he's down in Abilene, Texas, right?
Yeah, he's one of my former students. He graduated at the winter mark and is actively developing apps.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, was that the same Andrew that was on the show with us sometime back?
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, excellent. Well, I put out the call on Twitter and for people to choose a number, and Andrew is our winner. So I will be contacting him to find out what size he wears. And if you would like a chance to win a Corona Labs T-shirt, then you need to go to go to coronageek.com/giveaway. I haven't quite got it all worked out on the Corona Labs website yet, but coronageek.com/giveaway. All you have to do there, basically just follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, subscribe on Google Plus or on YouTube, whatever you want to do, and then go over, fill out the giveaway form. Tell us why you use Corona, and things like that. It's just a short form, and they'll throw your name in the hat, and then basically from there you can, if we draw your name, we'll contact you, let you know, and find out which size you wear, and we'll send you a T-shirt. It's real simple. All right, well, guys, I think that's kind of it. Next week's show is going to be a modified show. I'm going to be traveling. I'm actually going to be in the air, flying back from San Francisco. So we're not going to have a show next week, but I will be posting a lot of videos and things like that from the Global Game Jam. So we will have something on Monday, just not a regular Corona Geek hangout. So be sure to check the podcast for that. Check the YouTube channel for whatever that is that comes out, and then we'll be back to our regular schedule the week after Global Game Jam. All right. So George, Long, thanks for being on the show, guys. Ed, I'm glad we got your technical issues worked out with the audio, and you could finally be a part of the show. And Gerald, thanks for popping in, man.
You bet. Thanks. I finally made it.
you and Matthew are the only two guys who popped in, and this is the first time that we've really completely opened it up to everybody. Like before, we were just kind of saying, okay, here's where you can go and watch, and so you guys should get like T-shirts or coffee mugs or something.
Well, I'm a Corona ambassador, and you could tell David. Right? Well, yeah, except they sent me the wrong size. They sent me like a 2XL. So I said, just tell them to send me the right size, and I'll be happy.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll talk to Inna about that. We'll get you taken care of.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you could be on the show. Hey, hang out after the broadcast ends. I want to talk to you about. I want to ask you that same question about features that you want in Corona and stuff like that. All right.
Hey, you bet. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks guys for watching. We'll be back 2 weeks, I guess, from now, right here on Corona Geek. And like I said, be sure to check out those Global Game Jam videos that we'll have for you next week. All right. Until then, take it easy.